Hey guys, welcome to the Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse podcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We're here to change the dialogue and the stigma around what it means to feel good or to be high. Hence, H is for hope, I is for inspiration, G is for growth, and H is for healing. And here on this podcast, we do talk about things that people don't generally want to talk about, but they're important subjects that we need to talk about, really to decrease the stigma and allow for healing. Now, 2021, as was 2020, but we get it double time because nurses are so great. 2021 is the year of the nurse and the midwife. And we're highlighting and illuminating health professionals and cannabis nurses across the globe. And tonight's guest is Gail Pederson. Now, I've got a nice long bio to read, Gail, so hold on. This is really impressive, and I'm excited to have you here on the show. So here we go. Gail Pederson is an SPRN, HNSBC is a special practice RN in holistic nursing in the state of North Dakota, and a holistic nurse board certified. She has a private practice, Be Well Healing Arts, and it offers complementary therapies and education in Valley City, North Dakota. Now, Gail's been a registered nurse for 41 years. And, she's had a varied nursing career from birth to death. And she's currently the nurse manager for a small religious community and caring for aging sisters. She was a house supervisor for many years. She was in ER, ambulatory care, after-hours pharmacist, central supply, and more. She's been a faith community nurse, an OB supervisor, educator, a caregiver, support group leader for dementia. She's a grant writer and has served on many boards providing patient advocacy. In 2019, she was awarded the North Dakota Legendary Nurse Award for Advocacy. Her promotion of the nursing profession and her cannabis knowledge supporting state legislation prompted this by one of the state's cannabis advocates. She continues to take an active part in state legislation and had several bills improving patient safety and quality assurance in the 2021 session. Now, listen, as a cannabis nurse educator, and Gail, you are that, and consultant, you have a program, Cannabis 101, What Medical Professionals Need to Know. And it's been approved for 1.5 continuing education credits by the North Dakota Board of Nursing and the North Dakota State Board of Social Work Examiners. So this educational program is being taken on the road across major cities in the state this summer and fall with the goal to educate all providers and the public. I guess you're winding down your career in the next few years, although I don't know. But listen, I know that you've been grateful to have the opportunity to advocate for cannabis and support those working in the state to bring social equity and safe access for those using this plant as a medicine. Gail, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here tonight.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. Now, 41 years in nursing, you've seen a bit of change in this field, haven't you?
Yeah, let's even just say disposables,
Right? What was it like when you first got into nursing? Because I'm a relatively new nurse. I graduated with my associates in 20.
I worked at a small town hospital,
Yeah.
House supervisor, kind of all over every place. Things just like electronics for one part, counting the IV drops. Oh yeah, that looks about like 100 a minute.
Yeah, now you have a pump that goes up. You don't know how to program it. But
yeah. The disposable gloves, just things like that, The old Motorola pager systems we used to have, even, it was. That was a very big.
It's changed the job. It's changed the role. And it, like most nurses, if they've had a long career, you just have had so many different jobs within the nursing field.
It's good for the ADD personality, let's say. So I was with the same organization for almost 30 years, and really found my holistic practice there. Actually, I found my holistic practice in nursing school with one of my nursing instructors who's still my friend.
Well, tell me a little bit about that, because holistic nursing, my perception was that it's a relatively newer part of nursing, but it's not.
It's not.
Okay.
I think she was a charter member way back in the early 80s. I joined shortly thereafter and knew it was something that I needed to do in nursing. I've always been a spiritual person. I've always known that the mind, body, spirit concept, like you and Sherri talk about with cannabis, is important for healing and for being a whole person. So to make that legitimate, I joined the American Holistic Nurses Association and took their education and became a board certified holistic nurse. So I am, yep. And that happened in 2000.
Right. Turn of the century.
The turn of the century.
So tell me about holistic nursing, because, I hear a lot about it and I kind of have this concept in my head, but I'd really like to kind of get your view of what is holistic nursing, because it sounds like it would be a great transition into cannabis nursing or a complementary.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Definitely. In my practice, I've done which I'm kind of just focusing on cannabis because I'm so busy in other areas of my life right now. I've done healing touch, which is an energy-based therapy, integrative imagery, which is very fascinating, nutritional and dietetic support, sleep, stress management. It is helping the patient realize what they need to work on. It's not me telling you what you need to work on. Or I may give you a treatment plan, but for the most part, it is your commitment to work on this yourself. So it's also just treating the person that I look at my ER patients and making sure I'm treating them as a whole person. How can I help them emotionally and physically while I'm physically taking care of, emotionally and spiritually while I'm physically taking care of them? And that, I think, has come through in all my nursing. So, and we're working with sisters now. The spiritual aspect is great there. So,
yeah. And oh my gosh, it does transition right into cannabis care, because it's always, as Sherri and I always say, it's about educating the patient to make the decision for themselves what's right for them, right? We're just coaching and guiding and helping them to uncover what is the right path for themselves in regard to cannabis as a medicine.
And actually, the first place where I heard about cannabis as medicine was one of my education sessions through the Holistic Nurses Association.
So really?
A workshop in Prescott, Arizona, working toward my certification. And my mother had just been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. She was in pain. She was anxious. We didn't even have hospice in our town at that time. So what could I do for her? I asked a naturopathic doctor who had spoken to us, and the first thing he said was, find her some marijuana. So I could have easily, I'm a child of the 70s and, no problem there. But because of its illegality, I didn't even bring it up, which is too bad.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is, because, cannabis most definitely has a place in end of life care. Absolutely. It's
definitely
so powerful at that moment in your life to be able to utilize that. And, I'm hoping that it's making its way into end of life. I don't think it's there yet, but getting there.
Yeah, that's it. It needs to be certainly present. So
yes. So that was your first sort of introduction to it. But how did you move into the space, in the capacity that you're in now. I mean, you work in legislation, which we're going to talk about. You have your education program. Like like you're 100% all in.
Pretty much. It's kind of like a one woman show in North Dakota here, right?
We'll talk about North Dakota. That's it. It's an
Yeah,
interesting place.
yeah, and that's kind of been with my holistic practice the whole time here. Try to make something legitimate, which I feel I really did with the certification, and then just to legitimize the cannabis nursing.
Yep.
And the cannabis as therapeutics throughout the state, hopefully. So, yeah. And it all came about because of the legislation. We passed medical by almost 64% in 2017 and 2016, and the legislature came through and really altered the bill considerably to what we voted on.
Really? Now, I'm going to assume that they altered it not in a positive way.
No.
That's never the case. They never take what the people really want and make it better. It's always
and yes, there were problems. Things needed to be worked out, and
sure, they always do.
Yes, but some of the things were quite outlandish, such as one thing that I got up and said, no, you can't do this, is 24 hours the state could come into your house to observe your supply. Different things like that. They took away our ability to grow. They took away our ability to have edibles. We've been trying for the last two more sessions now to include those things, which just is impossible practically here.
Right. Right. And that's a big deal, because that limits your ability to help people utilize cannabis fully, because we know, the different routes of administration have different ways of working in the human body. So if you don't have edibles available, wow, that's a big deal.
And it was taken out with the impression that we could, make our own. But that this session has come to be known that is not even possible within our laws. So we have limited forms. We have limits on flower. We have some full spectrum oil tinctures and concentrates like that. Pills. They just started producing. We're supposed to get some transdermal patches, and we don't have them yet.
Yeah.
But,
so let me ask you, because you've been involved, sort of at the legislative level, where are they getting their advice from? How are the politicians, who have no business at all being in the medical regulation business, in my humble opinion, how are they getting their information to make these decisions that impact people in a very negative way? Where are they getting their information?
That's difficult to say.
Yeah.
Certainly you've got the medical experts, the health department. A lot of the legislation is coming through the state's attorney to make sure things are cut and dried.
No pun intended.
Yeah, there is an advisory board that we did get some changes through this session that I can certainly talk about later too, that does have some power, but for the most part, it's coming from the state health officers, several large facilities. I'm trying to be up there as the voice of knowledge. Yeah, knowledge, and we this year we did have a great video from Dr. Bonnie Goldstein specifically for pediatrics. And we could hardly get, I wonder if anybody even watched it. I just even said, okay, watch from 116 to 245. And it's difficult to know.
It's difficult to change minds, and we talk about this all the time, which is the reason why Sherri and I do what we do, right? And why you do what you do. It's why we all do it when we're in the medical cannabis space. Is that the only way that these minds are going to change is with our consistent voice educating them. It's
yeah.
the
And I
only way
do
it's
have to
ever going to
say,
change.
the legislatures, I did present my program one time in Bismarck here. I just had to get it out in Bismarck with our legislators
Mhm,
before they adjourned. So I emailed each one individually, 130 some, I think,
mhm,
and I had one person show up. He was taking notes profusely throughout my talk, which is essentially the talk that I will be giving to professionals too.
mhm,
Talking about the endocannabinoid system and all
mhm,
the important things that why it is used. Um, he listened. He came up afterwards. He listened to people afterwards. The next day, he essentially stopped a bill from being voted on in the House of Representatives. It went back to committee with his
with
insistence. So that one person was enough.
so right, so it's one person, and, all it takes is one person in that group of people to have a different opinion that'll allow other people to consider that it's possible for them to have a different
Mhm.
opinion about it, right?
He
I've
is
had I don't know if you've
yeah.
had this experience where in the healthcare community, I have, been in the cannabis space for 4 years now, and when I would talk to some peers in the past 4 years ago, they wouldn't even speak about it. Like, they were
Mhm.
dead set against it. They would not even hear anything about it. And now, 4 years later, they're curious. They wanna know. They
Mhm.
wanna understand, right?
Mhm.
So where did the change come from? They saw enough times, enough presentation of a positive spin on cannabis and marijuana that
Mhm.
now it's okay to have the conversation, but it's just going to take time. Like, I want it to be done now. I want it to be federally legal. I want every state to allow everybody to use it however they want to without any restrictions on these, specific diagnoses that you have in order to qualify. I think that's complete madness when you have, recreational markets, so you don't have to qualify for anything other than just be over 21. So we have a long way to go, which
And we've come surprisingly far
Mhm.
so rapidly. I think so.
I would agree with that. Yeah, yeah.
Just little chisel here and there is what we need
Mhm.
to do. So,
And
mhm,
that example that you gave was exactly the best one to give. You emailed 130 odd people to be there, and one person showed up, and you still presented. You still
oh,
did what you
he was
came
the
there to do.
only. Yeah, no, there were other people there, which included some wonderful industry contacts
Oh,
too.
good.
But
Mhm.
yeah, it was open to anybody. But
Yeah,
the specific people that
legislators.
were led, yeah, they were targeted for
Yeah,
sure. So
yeah.
yeah,
So
so
that's great, and that's how it gets done, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
here's the thing, I think that if this is true for most people, they just sit back and they say, "You know what? Somebody else is gonna take care of that. I don't need to be active. I don't need to be." Like, I've been a member of the ANA since I became a nurse, because I believe the ANA advocates on my behalf at a
Mhm,
national level. I'm a member of the ACNA because I believe that the ACNA, advocates for me in
mhm,
legislative activity, and I think that's important. But
mhm.
I don't think that most people don't even go that far to join an organization in the nursing community, the healthcare community. Um, but it's important, right?
And that's interesting because really I joined ANA just a few years ago. I've been a whole member of the American Holistic Nurses Association for darn
Right.
near
Mhm,
forever, but ANA, yeah, I think a lot of nurses don't have the time, don't have the energy.
mhm.
I know I was raising a family. I had a disabled
Right.
child. I was the one that was called in as a part time person. I'm the one that
Mhm.
can you come in. So um, exhaustion for nurses, burnout for nurses, and I
It's
don't think
huge.
they realize what ANA can do for us for one
Right.
thing. So
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think
ACNA,
you're right.
yeah, that's been a group that I've just fallen into. I'm so glad I have fallen into it, and
Right?
some real people is all I can
Amazing,
say.
amazing group of
Yeah.
people. Yeah, if you're a nurse and you are interested in finding out more about cannabis, join the American Cannabis Nurses Association or the Cannabis Nurses Network. Any of
Mhm.
those
Definitely.
organizations is going to give you
Yeah.
that foundation, that group of peers
Mhm.
that you can have a real open and honest conversation with
Mhm.
and not be judged, right?
Yeah.
Totally not
Oh,
be
for
judged.
sure, for sure. Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is important, right? You need to be able and be in that safe space. If it some people can't talk about it at work.
No, not at
No,
all.
not
And
one
I
bit.
know I've got a few nurses within North Dakota that are members, but
Mhm.
several of them, you can't talk about it, definitely. So, and
Yeah, so
I going back to the legislation and stuff too,
mhm.
the first time I testified, I was, what was it, 62 years old, and I had never been to our capital during a legislative session. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay,
How was that? A little anxiety provoking?
oh, well, I had good leaders. Thank heavens they'd been there,
Mhm.
and my friend Anita, I just followed her, and I'm fortunate to have people that, okay, I'll present this, and I'll just follow you. Where do we go? So, and so that after that, uh, it was the actual implementation of our program, and
Mhm.
that's quite uh, uh, it's restrictive. We only have two distributors or two grow facilities, manufacturers, and we have 8 dispensaries in the state. So we don't have a large population,
Mhm.
790,000 people. So,
Right,
but
right.
it's still 30 to 60 miles to travel to a dispensary for a lot of
Yeah.
people. So I found the Holistic Nurses or the American Cannabis Nurses Association after I started looking into being asked to work with one of um, the applicants for a manufacturing facility. So I found the whole world after we didn't make the cut with that, but
Mhm.
I found my niche. So
And here you are.
here I am. Here
Yeah.
I am.
So what are you hoping for North Dakota?
Well, certainly we do have uh, constitutional measure that we're collecting signatures for to remove prohibition of cannabis, which would also include growing of up to 12 plants, I believe.
Yeah, that's what we
Um,
have here in Massachusetts. We
so
can grow 6, I believe, each individual
okay,
person and 12 per household, I think.
okay.
Yeah.
We have failed the last umpteen times to introduce that in the legislature. So
Mhm.
therefore, we need to go for this with legalize adult use legalization.
Mhm.
Um, for myself, I want to educate. People don't know. Um, in our 8 major cities, I hope to present my program
Mhm.
for the professionals, but also have public programs too. Therefore, expanding everybody's knowledge
Mhm.
leading up to hopefully adult use, more understanding, less fear. Let's try and get rid of some of the fear.
Less fear, less
That
fear.
really came through in our legislature this year. One of We did have an adult use bill attempted to be passed
Mhm.
just because they are kind of afraid of the amendment that may be coming down the road that they may not have as much control over.
Mhm.
So one of our legislators even came up and said, marijuana is used for nausea. If you drink alcohol and use marijuana at the same time, you may not vomit and die of alcohol poisoning.
Oh. Oh, so you're saying so drink alcohol enough so that you have to vomit or die, but don't use cannabis, which may stop that process. Now, see, that really is a perfect example of just how skewed the whole deal is, right? alcohol is an awful, awful drug, and it's legalized, and everybody agrees that we're going to use it. All laws are by agreement anyway, right? 200 years
Yeah.
ago, by law, if insulted me, another man insulted me, I could slap him across the face, take him outside, and we could shoot each other to death. That was legal because everybody agreed, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not, right? So here we are, alcohol's legal, we all by agreement, and here we are, we're going to get cannabis there. We're all going to agree that it should be legal across the board. Gail, I
We
like
hope.
our chances.
Hope. I will see. I do not know on that line, but certainly hoping for. We have a Republican majority, and it's pretty tough. So we will push on. We need about 40,000 signatures to get our measure on the ballot. So, but who knows? Eventually, it will be.
What do the surrounding states look like? Do you have any legal?
Oh yeah. No. Montana is medical. They've been medical forever.
Yeah.
And both Montana and Minnesota is also medical.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota is putting through a measure. I don't think it will pass their Senate, but it's a really good comprehensive bill. They have worked long and hard on it. South Dakota, passed both medical and adult use, and both of those are facing lawsuits and changes and this and that. So
yeah.
And Montana is sounds like they've just finally agreed on their adult use legal now too, legalization. So a little bit more restrictive than the people voted on again. So
right. Hey,
and then just and then you have the 400 plus pounds that was just confiscated at the north border of North Dakota coming down from Canada. So
yeah,
it's there.
I mean, it's gonna be in the state anyway, no matter what is done. It always has been, and it will be. Why not generate some revenue from it? Why not make the people happy and let them have access to medicine? We're going to get there. We really are.
Yep. Sooner or later.
Yep. So, absolutely. So, definitely. What are you excited about?
Oh,
2021.
My program. Definitely. I got my Cannabis 101, what medical professionals need to know, was approved just as COVID hit a year ago, last March. So I had 2 programs scheduled to present, and I had to cancel them and had to renew my program without even presenting it. So I'm looking forward to going out to the major cities and targeting, first of all, smaller medical facilities. Do they want me to come in and give the program? Then possibly, if that doesn't work, marketing is something that is just so awful. So getting some advertising out there, renting a hotel room like I did out in Bismarck, and giving a presentation and opening up on an Eventbrite situation, so hopefully get enough people to make it worth my while. And
well, I hope you do.
Yeah, it is based on the National Council for the State Board of Nursing guidelines that all of us cannabis nurses certainly know about. But
yes, published in 2018, 6 of them that outline all of the things that nurses need to know about medical cannabis use in the endocannabinoid system and how to actually operate as a nurse in this environment. So exciting that that's out there. So your opinion, when do you think it's going to make it into the nursing curriculum? I know there are colleges out there that have programs, right?
Oh,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I just graduated from the University of
Yes.
Maryland School of Pharmacy, right?
And
So they
yes,
have a program and,
and
you
you're
know,
going on to masters?
oh no, it is a master's.
It
Wait a
is,
minute.
that's the masters, and now you're going on.
Masters,
Okay.
yeah. I got my little
Yeah.
tassel in the mail, that's my great graduation because they didn't have one in person. But
Wonderful.
it's not a nursing program. That's a pharmacy program, right? It's a university,
Mm.
it's the School of Pharmacy.
Wow.
I don't know of any strict nursing programs that have added it into the curriculum yet.
Not that I'm aware of, and so that's really, it needs to be a push. We've got an LPN to RN program at our small town college,
Mhm,
and I've introduced a few things there and made sure that
mhm.
they're aware of things, but haven't actually gotten in to be able to present to them or do
Yeah.
anything either.
I've reached out to my alma mater, Regis College. If anybody from Regis College in Weston, Massachusetts is listening this evening, I've reached out. I'm ready to give you some information. And nothing crickets back. So it's just we got to keep at it.
I think the nursing textbook that
That Carrie Clark put out?
Carrie Clark put up, and Carrie, by the way, is another certified holistic nurse with me.
Oh yeah.
So,
She
yeah,
is
yeah.
another rock star cannabis nurse,
Oh,
holistic nurse,
and
and
that
and
is,
a hell of an educator.
oh,
Yeah, and that book is just amazing. And there were so many. She is so good at bringing in the right collaboration, the right collaborators, right? Other cannabis nurses for pieces that she needed to fill out that textbook.
yes. And I was
Yeah.
thrilled to say, wow, I know so many of these people. It's like, ooh,
Right.
oh, yeah.
I
So,
mean, we're at the forefront. We are at the forefront of this burgeoning medical cannabis world, and it's exciting. It really is exciting. And I think that this is. I mean, I really do believe that cannabis has paved the way for all of what you're seeing in the psychedelic space as
oh,
far as psychedelics and mental health. It sort of softened everybody to the idea that, oh my gosh, okay, they said that cannabis was not a medicine for 80 years, but it is. It was before. So maybe it's true about psychedelics too. So, yeah, lots of good work, lots of positive things. Anything that you want to add as we wrap it up?
and just I love to educate anywhere, and little things like a circle at your church, or a group of your friends that you meet for coffee, or
Yeah.
you hear. I got a conversation going when I was checking out the CBD in the gas station one time.
Mhm.
You don't know where you can educate, so just
That's
be
right.
looking for a place to do that. So.
Hey, Carrie Lee popped up. What's up? And Alice, Shauna. Hey, thanks for stopping by, guys, and everybody else who's listening. Uh, you're right, Gail. You never know who you talk to that when you have that conversation, what you may have as change in their life,
Mhm.
right? You don't know how you're going to impact their life with just your sharing of your knowledge
Mhm.
and your experience. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you may open the door to providing somebody with an opportunity to use cannabis in the most healing way.
Mhm.
Amazing. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Carry on is all we can do.
Carry on, everybody. That's the message from Gail Pederson, and I'm with her, right beside her. We're gonna carry on. And thanks everybody for stopping by. We're gonna have all of Gail's contact info will be posted up after the fact on the Facebook site and on this.
Sounds good.
And Gail, if you want to share any of your contact info now, just in case somebody here is just burning to reach out to you tonight, because of course, if I was listening from and didn't know you, I'd of course want to reach out. So
Be Well Healing Arts is my Facebook page. That's where I do most of my
yep,
fun stuff. So, yeah.
great, great.
Okay.
Gail, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Can't
being a
wait to see
guest
you. Yep.
and from the great state of North Dakota. And across all of these 50 great states, we're working together to really bring hope and inspiration and growth and healing through the use of medical cannabis in any way. And you know what? It really is. I'm going to say this for Sherri, who wasn't able to be here tonight. Sherri, we hope you're on the mend.
Yes.
And, you know, it really is about living your best life and helping others to do the same. Thanks, Gail. Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.